What up, everybody? I am your host, JP. This is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everyone.
And welcome back to another episode of the FilmBros podcast. We have another movie to review for you guys today.
Yeah.
Very action-packed, very thrillerish, very high-speed, octane. Are those good good words? I felt like those were like buzzwords.
No, yeah, I don't know.
No, you remember like back in the early 2000s when like you would hear in theater or not theaters, but theaters, trailers, whatever. Like they'll try to like announce these action movies all bad as like in a world where there's one man and he needs to kill so many people that he doesn't die. And I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking
John Wick.
That's John Wick.
The Yakuza.
Yeah. I'm back.
Yeah.
But that's not the movie that we're going to be reviewing today. Josh, if you want to let them know what movie we are reviewing today.
Extraction 2, 2023.
Hey. Move.
Tyler, you were clinically dead 9 months ago. But you fought your way back. You came back for this. Why?
Extraction 2, we have all the cast there, but before we get into this review and get all the spoilery goodness, so if you guys haven't seen it, make sure you guys make your exit now. But if you guys don't want to, Josh, let them know where they can talk to us, support us in a big way, and give us a movie to review, and if they want to catch our live streams once in a while.
Wow. Mouthful.
Spit it out.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. We post new episodes are up. You can hit us up there for any news or movies you want us to cover. Support us in a big way. Buzzsprout link is in those bios. Subscribers get special perks and shout outs on episodes. You can listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts. That's Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, things like that. Subscribe to our YouTube at FilmBros Podcast and follow us on Twitch for when we're live at FilmBros Podcast.
Yes, very good. Make sure you guys check those out. Hit the notification bell. Never miss an episode. So we have already we dove deep in the first Extraction. We already reviewed that one. So if you guys haven't caught that one, still up. Go check it out. If you guys haven't seen the first one, go watch it. It's a good flick. So Extraction 2. I'm gonna take us back just a smidgen. So a couple months ago. I think we're already heading towards the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
We're in September. I think we did our mid-year review in July, right? So we did a whole mid-year review. Extraction 2 was a part of that list, and we were supposed to do a full-on review a long time ago, but it just kept getting pushed back. We've had other movies to go. We had an open slot. This was technically could have been Blue Beetle slot, but
Technically.
but we just haven't gotten around to it. We're not paying money to go.
No. It's not
DC kind of broke our hearts a little bit, so here we are with Extraction 2. So a couple months ago in July, we did put out our mid-year review. This movie made it to my mid-year review. I don't remember if it made it to yours.
Yeah, it did.
Did it?
Mine was more. Mine was kind of low though.
Like on the back end, right?
Yeah,
Mine was a little bit higher. So we did a top 10 mid-year movie review. January's coming up. We're gonna have a full year movie review. All the new ones that came out. Those slots are gonna be jumbled up and mixed up. But if you guys haven't caught that episode, you guys can go catch that as well. You had John Wick 4.
Yeah.
And Extraction 2 on the same list. And I didn't have that. In my head, there's no way that they could have coexist. One was the better fighter and the shooter. And I think John Wick had made it up above your list in that.
It was up there. I think I put it after Extraction. It was up there.
But like top 5, where Extraction was top 10 before the 5.
Yeah.
You've seen this movie now twice.
Yeah.
John Wick 4, I believe you watched it a couple times as well.
I watched it like twice, yeah.
Yeah. Do you still feel the same way? Now that we gave it a couple months to breathe, you can look back at John Wick 4, you can look back at Extraction 2, and do you still feel it's the same?
I think I'm not. That's actually a really good question, because I didn't like think about comparing them that hard the first time. And I think John Wick 4 we had just seen, so I was like on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to do donuts.
But yeah. But I think if I had to, John Wick 4 is still to me solid. But there's something about the Extraction franchise where they do it correct. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They know what they're doing, and I don't know if it's because the stunt coordinator is the director, so he just knows how to get those shots or whatever. But yeah, I think Extraction 2 could be better than John Wick 4.
Looking back at it now,
Yeah.
it could probably switch spots. But that's why we're gonna do a full year review. Maybe John Wick 4 was just it had that newness to it. I think you had really
Maybe.
watched it when
Yeah.
we were doing that list, so it was kind of like maybe that's why. But obviously, we're gonna dive deeper into this movie, and we're gonna dig out what they done better, because the only other movie that we can really compare this to is John Wick 4, because they do, if not the same things, they kind of executed them differently, and on top of that, you get two high octane solo person shooters, and we're gonna put them to the test today after we give our full review with Extraction 2. So Extraction 2 has an 80% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, an 85% audience score. We have the return of Tyler Rake and director Sam Hargrave, coming from AGBO Productions, which is Joe Russo and Anthony Russo's production company. Chris Hemsworth returns as Tyler Rake. We have her name's crazy, Golshifteh Farhani as Nick Khan, Adam Bessa as Yas Khan, and his name's crazy too. A lot of crazy names in this one, but a lot of good actors, to be honest. Idris Elba joins the team in this one as well, and we honestly see them go off to the races in this movie.
Yeah.
Let's do a first. We compared it to John Wick 4, so let's go ahead and try to compare it and see where a little bit of the complaints were addressed in this movie, I believe, right? I think we kind of dug into it in our top 10 review a little bit, but we obviously couldn't go into detail. But the first one, what did we have? We had not a lot of scenery. We didn't have a protagonist that everybody necessarily liked because of the circumstances he was put in. He was in a different country, third world country, yellow piss filter all over the screen, and it was kind of like white American saving this Indian kid, and it wasn't received well for all people. I personally didn't see an issue with it until I kind of watched it a second time, and I was like, you know what, this does kind of seem pretty bad if you think about it.
Oh no.
So I felt like a few of those things were addressed. Was there any more in the first part that you felt needed to be changed in the second one?
Not really, no, because those were the more drastic things. Like it's a lot better that they basically changed it up, because while maybe the first one was for shock value and people buzzing like, hey, this movie shows this and that, whether it be negative or positive, he learned that, okay, now I have their attention, let's actually do something with it. And so I think this one really outshines in that aspect of the first one. Yeah. But he changed it for the better, I feel.
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't know if that was the case too, if it was just because he just wanted that buzz to go around. Oh yeah, people, or maybe he just wasn't thinking about it. He was more thinking of a military mindset. I know Sam Hargrave came from stunt performing. He doubled Keanu Reeves for a while. We talked about this before. I think he did it for Tom Hardy. He's done all this stunt work. He's been in the grit of it. I think his background is military as well, so he's very well versed in all these categories that this movie brings up: military training, the combat aspect, the gun work. Honestly, if we're gonna talk about, obviously we're gonna talk about the camera and the movement and everything, but just the way that the camera moved in this movie itself was insane. And I was watching it with Julie yesterday, and she was even like, damn, the camera is like different in this one. I'm like, yeah, this is, he decided to one up his first one as well. I think the first one he did a 12-minute one shot scene. We know he cheats. we know he cheats, not a big deal. But I think in the second one he did a 21 minute.
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, like just straight one shot.
Yeah,
which
that
was
whole prison.
That whole prison scene was
Mhm.
awesome. And then eventually we get back to cuts and everything. And you know what? It's funny because in this one, he kind of puts it in the front, whereas the one shot scene in the first one was kind of towards maybe the middle backish of the movie.
Yeah.
And this one he puts it right in the front. So when I was watching it last night, and I watched it when I watched it the first time too, it puts you in a zone. I feel that kind of prepares you for when the movie goes by itself, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it too well. I was trying to think about the words. Let me see. So when the movie starts, obviously it starts with little cuts here and there, right? Little edits, the way they're speaking. And then we get to the scene where he's going to do the job. And that's when the whole one-shot scene starts. They start in the van and they keep going. You hardly remember that beginning because mostly that beginning is him training and getting back up and all that stuff. And then once we get to that scene, I feel like it kind of puts you on that roller coaster, right? I feel like the beginning felt like the climb up. And then when that whole one-shot scene happened was all the loop-de-loops and everything. Yeah. And then after we exited that scene, the rest of it was just like us calming down and getting still that adrenaline pump with the Dubai scene and that the last scene at the very end. But it felt like he knew exactly what spots to hit in order for this to become not only an effective shooter, but an effective movie as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because he totally could have overplayed it, and it be like this long running thing, but he managed to fit all that action in there to basically hold up and not really bore us, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because right when they get out the prison, dipping into semi-spoiler territory, but they get out the prison, they get on that train, and then it's all still rolling downhill from there. And I feel like in any other instance, if he wasn't keeping it interesting with the camera movements or whatever, it would have been boring. You would have been like, damn, this is taking way too long for them to escape or whatever else.
Yeah.
But I think he kept it interesting.
Oh yeah. Because I was thinking that too. I was like, damn, this is a long job. But if there's no edits and we feel every single hit and we understand that this is when the job started, we're still not done with the job. Well, obviously, us as a viewer knows that the job's not going to be done in like 5-10 minutes. So the fact that we never leave their side, I feel helps with that as well, with the whole, one shots. And it's crazy how we go from them to a different nobody person and they take us along for a second and then boom, we're back with the main character. Yeah. So it's kind of, he does it effectively in this one as well. This movie was insane. I was rewatching it yesterday and I was
it's a trip.
Like, and I had to pause it because I told you there was a lot of action, so I finished it this morning. And waking up to some adrenaline pumping action like that is I think it's a good way to start your morning. Yeah. I kind of was watching it. I was just like, damn, I could take on everybody. You want to go knock on the neighbor's door? Come out here. Let's start jumping into the characters. Yes. Tyler Rake. He comes back after being shot in the neck. Nick Khan comes back as well. She's more of his handler, and she kind of wants him to retire, wants him to be done with this life. Her brother as well, Yaz Khan as well. He wants Tyler Rake to retire. He's seen what he's been through, and we set off to the races from there. Right? We get a call from Tyler Rake's sister-in-law or ex-sister-in-law, Tyler Rake's wife, to save his ex-sister-in-law, which is in not a Yakuza. You said Yakuza earlier. Now I'm over here thinking of the Yakuzis.
It's
Nagazi.
She's
captured. They're in the prison over there in Georgia. Torrey, Georgia?
Something like that.
So Torrey, Georgia. They're in prison because her man's part of the Nagazi and he runs them, and it's just a bad time. He's abusive. Bad father, for sure. Bad father. Tyler Rake sent in there to go save him by Idris Elba himself, which was a surprise to see him in this movie. For sure. What's it? Heimdall and Thor back together.
Yeah.
You see that beautiful shot, one shot scene, whatever. Then you get to the Dubai scene where he saves the family, but the son is so glued to his father, he gives him out. Then they go ahead and attack him there. Fight scene there. You get a cool shot of somebody getting slammed into a treadmill. Very nice. Somebody gets beat. Oh,
that shit was crazy.
Yeah, that one was crazy. Somebody gets hurt by a leg press machine. That was insane too. That wasn't a one-shot scene too. And he would do those. It's crazy because he'd do those one shots, those quick one shots where they would show everything and then they'll keep going and edit and cut. After narrowly escaping the enemy and losing one of our people, that honestly I didn't know about the relationship until the second one, so I should have seen it coming, but at the same time still kind of hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we get to the ending where Tyler Rake does his thing. He beats the bad guy. Congratulations. He walks off, and then we set up the Avengers.
That's what I imagine.
At the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But the characters, how'd you feel about Tyler Rake coming back? Do you feel like he was given a reason to come back that you felt like it was logical and the rest of the gang?
Well, yeah, I feel like obviously he didn't want to retire. I really feel like his character was going to go through one of those transitions where it's like, damn, he's been active for so long and now he's being told to sit still for good reason. He was just well, what did she say? He was clinically dead like 9 months ago, and then now he just has to sit in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, just settle down, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was going to, but obviously Idris Elba comes and is like, "We got a job for you, my boy," and that involves his ex-wife's sister. I think that's the perfect way to set things up because he wasn't gonna come out for nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a random situation. Like it had to be personal enough to bring him back. And I know that's a cliche where it's like, "Oh, the stakes are personal. I gotta do it myself," type shit. But I mean, it works. If you know it works, you can't fix it.
I thought it was hilarious because it was kind of like, I felt like Sam Hargrave was writing it and he was like, "Oh, he has to save his wife? That seems too damn generic. Ex-wife's sister." And they kind of, he kind of put it to paper. I thought it was a good reason too. Obviously, it was personal. I did kind of touch up in the review as well that, or mid-season ranking actually. I keep saying it was a review. It was a ranking, and we kind of gave a little reason why we liked it. But him coming back for her made sense. Like I told you before, I did not like the fact that they kind of dwindled that relationship for his son by just putting it on a SD card when he couldn't remember for shit. But Tyler Rake is not a good father apparently because he goes off on a mission and all of a sudden he can't remember the damn recording of his child. He could have easily popped it in whenever he felt like. So then putting it on a SD card was not that great for the movie for me, but it kind of subsided with everything else. So in a way, he took something away but gave us another reason.
You're taking the bad with the good at that point.
Yeah, and it's fine. So it wound up working out for me. But then we went ahead and we brought back Nick Khan and we kind of gave her and her brother a relationship.
Yeah.
The first one I didn't feel like I don't even know if they mentioned. I can fairly remember that they did not mention that they were that brother and sister or anything like that. And then in the second one, they're
I don't know. I can't remember the first one too well. I haven't seen that one in a minute. But I think they hint at it a little bit. But they don't deep dive into it because, I mean, you're taking away from Hemsworth and his fucking job, basically, and the kid in the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm trying to remember. I don't think that they did. I don't think that they made that apparent that they were brother and sister.
Yeah.
They didn't give them a love relationship. It's not like how we are with Ahsoka right now with Sabine Wren and Ezra. Like, we don't know what their deal is. It's these guys, we did not know their deal at all whatsoever. Nick Khan and Yaz Khan. Let me see. I got to see if they give them credit in the first one. I'm going to look it up right now.
Okay. Well, why you do that?
Yeah, keep going.
I don't know. I think Perfect Stakes, obviously, and for them being siblings, I don't know if it's too big of a deal, but I enjoy that they give them that connection. Granted, obviously, if you're giving random characters character development, something bad's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I should have seen it coming.
But I don't know. It still managed to pull on my heartstrings. I was still like, damn.
No, I thought it was sad too, and I think I'm gonna just call her by her movie name. Nick Khan's performance to him passing away too. Like, I know they do that cliche screaming with no music and all that, like the emotion, the power that she brought to it made for a great death scene for him.
Yeah, no, she was the fact that they really hinted a lot at their relationship and stuff, and it was just how close they were really helped sell that. And she did great in that performance. It was insane because even she got some action scenes too.
Oh,
took away from Chris Hemsworth for a bit, and she got her own action scene for a little.
Yeah, they credited them as brother and sister. So I mean, they just didn't really play on their brother and sister-ness too much in their first one, but they did give Nick Khan 2, actually 3, like scenes where like she showed up and showed out, which was great. And I personally wanted that in the first one. I thought that we are gonna get some kind of scene with her. I think towards when I seen them on the bridge, I thought we were gonna actually see some hand to hand from her, but they did not. And this one, they actually gave her time to shine, and I fucking loved it. Every single fight scene, I loved it.
It was really good. And I think that's another thing they fixed too, was her character. Because I mean, in the first one, I thought she was more like military, but they didn't show that she was that skilled like Tyler was.
Yeah, I thought she was like a paper pusher. Like she was just there. You know, she'll probably go on missions once in a while with a vest on or something, and
shoot who she needs to shoot.
Exactly, yeah, and then just kind of move on. But
like,
this
we didn't know she got down and dirty like that.
Yeah, no, she got down. I think it was the scene in the train where like she was fighting the 2 guys, and then she was like losing for a second, and she got stabbed in the shoulder, and she just said and she like ran his arm through the glass and just whooped their ass. I was like, damn,
that shit was crazy.
Yeah.
So they keep moving. He gets the job, the prison scene again. We could talk about that prison scene for hours. Moving forward to the train scene, and then after that, it kind of quiets down. They get to Dubai, and
I already ran down the whole movie.
No, I'm trying to like
remember yourself.
Well, yeah. They get to the train scene.
What do you think about the kids?
I like the little girl. The son was a piece of shit.
Well, obviously the son was a piece of shit, but how did you like the involvement of children in this one?
I felt it was kind of realistic. The bonds, that granted they could have taken them out, you know, the whole just make it the wife is trapped in prison with him, whatever, and it just be her. But like I think it managed to show the struggle between like, well, their family, obviously the son and the dad's relationship, and then it put them in that realistic stage of like being rescued. And then I've never seen combat, but I imagine that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah, I like the introduction of the children too. I think it worked great for the story. I just don't like that he used kids twice, if that makes sense. Like, he used a child in the first one, he used it in the second one. I get, like, extractions happen to anybody, but, like, I would have, maybe that's just me nitpicking it, but I would have, preferred it to have been, maybe if the kids got kidnapped after he saved the wife or something like that, or like they got separated, it would have been different. I do like the way that he took it. I'm not trying to take away from the story itself. I just kind of felt like it was, I kind of like how using the sister would have been too on the nose. I kind of felt like using kids again was too on the nose as well, even though it was executed perfectly. I would say that.
I don't think so.
No.
Only for the fact that he didn't make the same mistakes twice.
No. Obviously that
I thought he would have. He was at the end.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, he has him or whatever. He asks the kid to pull the trigger. I thought he was just gonna be like, shame, boom, you know. Which I was kind of like, eesh. Thank God he didn't. Yeah, that shit was nice.
Oh, kind of like what happened in the first one.
Yeah.
And be like, but he'll be back again. Yeah, I think he did it well, and that's what helped with the emotional beats too, right? Was the whole father-son dynamic.
Yeah.
How can, I live up to my father at the same time? Do I want to live up to my father because of everything that's happening? Seeing all this death around me, like he, like they were saying, they were just kids. So that conflict really helped with the story. Now, he was a little shit. I was just thinking, like, why don't they just let him go? And I get it. That's the mother's kid. She's not going to want to let him go. Even though it's really sad, she wasn't going to let him go. So it was it played an interesting role. And then having that other little subplot with the villain of the movie, Zurab, that little subplot where, he wound up losing his brother, but he was protecting his brother his whole life.
Yeah.
And so he felt the need to see this all the way through because his brother owed him his life, because his father would beat the shit out of him if his brother got hurt, kind of thing. So that, I thought adding that little fine layer to it was honestly
the
chef's
bad guy's perspective and all of it. Because it's not just some rich asshole who's like, he needs to go. He's just like, nah, it's family business, personal business at that point, which I kind of liked. If we're comparing villains,
it gives them motivation.
I liked it a lot better than a generic crime boss, I guess, in the first one. I don't know if there's bias against him. Because
they made you really hate him because of throwing kids off of buildings and shit.
No, that's
like
why
that.
I don't know if there's a bias there because he murders children, but I mean, I can chalk that up to his environment or whatever else and defend it, but I think the Russian bad guy is the better option here.
Yeah, I think he made a more layered villain with this one.
Yeah.
Only so it didn't feel like it was just Tyler Rake saving somebody and trying to avoid one person. Like, this dude actually has skill. He trained. He was a part of a gang. They were actual badasses and where they're at. So it added that layer where you needed to actually not root for the villain, but kind of be like, oh, you know, you kind of have a little bit of sympathy. So you have that little bit of back and forth, or that kind of like tugging and pulling. Like, I want Rake to win, but at the same time, poor dude, he's just doing it because of honor and stuff. But towards the end, I was just like, yeah, no, if he's willing to blow everybody up, fuck him, kill him. All right, kill him.
Basically.
Kill him now.
I really liked the villain here. I like that scene specifically where he's talking to, I'm assuming his uncle, or the one that took him in, his caretaker, whatever, that old guy.
Yeah, that was his uncle, his dad's brother.
Yeah, his uncle.
And I was kind of like, oh, okay, so sister's ex-wife's sister, dead dad's brother. I was like, you know, it's
where he's sitting,
not too on the nose, I guess.
He's sitting across from him, and he's like, well, why don't you just give up or whatever, like let him go? And the big bad was just like, I can't do that, it's personal or whatever. And then he's like, well, why don't we ask God? And he reaches for the Bible and he reads it to him, and he's just like, I forget how he says it, but he shoots him, and he's like, the guy's like, oh, I always expected a bullet, just not from you. And then I thought that shit was sad. I was like, damn,
did him dirty.
Because the personal lines he's crossed for his brother, like, I understand he's blind by rage and stuff, but like, it's kind of poetic that he's willing to kill family for him too.
Yeah. And that's insane that he would do that. There was at one point I thought he was gonna just kill the kid. You remember the part where he took like the little what are they called? The ear listeners off?
Yeah.
The things off his ear. What are they called? I don't
want to.
Hearing aids.
Yes.
He took the hearing aids off, and I thought he was actually gonna kill like Sandro the first time around. I was like, oh, I was just like that, bro. But nah, they didn't wind up doing that, and they wound up saving him for the very end, which was honestly a good showdown in my opinion. So. But before we get to the ending and all that, we're obviously going to talk about it a lot more. But what about the world building in this one? Obviously, we're in the second movie. We're no longer in just one piss screen, basically, anymore.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the world building? Do you feel like they gave Tyler Rake more opportunity to, you know, shine and actually be a contender in what I would assume is going to be a high rival, like, showdown against John Wick? You know, John Wick's property.
I think they did pretty good in the second one. I know the first one was we had a big complaint about India and it having a piss filter and all that. This one they managed to spread it all out. Like you went from Dubai to or I guess you went from India to Dubai to the prison scene, which was in Georgia somewhere out there, back to Dubai, and you know they end off where they end off. But
Tyler Rake's home too. The mountains. The
Himalayas, that's why. Yeah. I don't know where he was, but yeah, it works. It works a lot better here because you get to see everything else. That's basically it. Like,
you're not just stuck in India.
Yeah, you're not confined to one place. And I know that's a big complaint or whatever to be like, well, what do you want? I go, I want them to be able to move. I want them to move.
Yeah, and I think they made it probable to the way they did it. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we got to get here and then boom, jet plane all the way over there. No, they actually had resources, which it was actually nice that they showed us that as well, the resources it took and where they had their base and how they basically made their funding in order to do all these missions. So it was a nice little insight on their part. I felt.
Yeah, because like again, it always feels like these top secret agencies are just like, oh, we got a guy for that.
we're tax funded.
Yeah, like they got a guy for that, and it's just like, no, I feel like there's a lot more technical things. It's not like John Wick where he's just like, hey, I want guns, and they give you guns. But I don't know. I feel like just this one does it right in the sense that it gives you all that time to just breathe with the scenery and things like that.
Yeah.
Because even when they're pulling up to that snowy cabin, you get a lot of good like scenery, and I think that's just one of my favorite things when yes, you can deliver the action, things like that, but there's times where you just gotta set back and take in what you're looking at.
Well, one thing I thought, at least with the world building aspect, is what they took away from this one, and that was the lack of people, the lack of civilians. I could compare it to kind of how John Wick is too. Like they don't have time to clear places out, so they're over there shooting in public in different places. Now, granted, John Wick kind of jumps a little bit further and basically makes the whole world a bunch of assassins, which is crazy, but that's a different talk for a different day. In Extraction, at least the first one, they were in India and there was collateral damage. People were getting hurt, that people were screaming, running away, and in this one it felt like everything was just so contained. Besides the prison scene, everything else was so contained, and we didn't have like that collateral damage or anything like that. The only thing they kind of did to show you that there was consequences for the actions is that they got arrested towards the end of the movie. But other than that, they basically went on this rampage, fucking breaking shit. Things were falling, and nobody got hurt.
We had random police die and stuff
in a piece of the car chase.
No, in the helicopter that guy shoots down with the rocket. Those were like German
they
police.
were coming in. Yeah, they were coming in.
So
Dubai police.
So that kind of raised the stakes a bit, because because you're told to keep quiet, and now you're making this big fuss. Granted, it's not really your fault, but it kind of is, and now you have the country's law after your ass, which is something that he didn't want at all. Like it just adds another thing to the fire.
I didn't really feel that though.
I felt that. I felt there was like urgency after that to be like, okay.
No, no, because they were just hiding out in a bunker a few miles down the road and at a runway, and it was just like, nobody's chasing them, nobody's looking for them or whatever. But apparently with Tyler, they were on high sensitivity, and so it was kind of like it was the inconsistency, I guess. I guess on the threat levels for both, because they weren't really too worried that people were gonna snatch them up either.
I don't
except for the one dude with the Bible, but that was about it. And then he got rid of that pressure, quite honestly, a little too easy.
Maybe, I'm not too sure.
If they would have kept the old man around to kind of be like maybe have him on the side and just kind of like have this dude try to be calm in the moment, and then him just whispering in his ear like, can't be calm, we should probably leave, maybe not be so nonchalant about it with them just sitting there. It would have probably portrayed it a little bit different. But for me, it just he was giving them that warning like, hey, we should probably go, and homeboy was just like, I'm gonna do what I want regardless.
I kind of like Yaz and Tyler's relationship. I know we didn't really touch upon that, but they really highlight that they're good friends in this one.
Yeah,
like she saved his life in the first one and this one, and he kind of saved her life from plummeting to her death. So like I kind of enjoyed that as close as they are, they still manage to like protect each other too.
Yeah, and have that banter in between.
Yes.
Like when he was like, do you trust me? She's like, well, should I not, kind of thing. Now I thought Tyler was a little too strong to be able to toss her all the way over there, but hey man, I
suspend your disbelief.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Like there's stuff where it's like, I think Extraction 2 doesn't go all crazy to the point where they don't feel like you can't suspend it just a little bit. Now there is a couple times like, come on, you're gonna really it's cool and I could suspend it, but you're really gonna tell me? I thought when he shot the bullet, he was gonna shoot like the beam or something. He shoots him right in the hand. You're telling me that guy wouldn't have let go of the beam real quick?
Exactly.
That was my thing.
Nope,
I was
exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Tyler
like
Rake is so strong. He's gonna take a bullet and just be like, God, I'm slipping my blood.
Nah, man, no. Exactly.
No, dude. That's why I was like, oh well, he had him dead to rights right there. I think them backing him up in a corner and then still letting him allowed to escape didn't help the cause, but I get it. Shit needs to happen to make the movie go on, and that's fine. But yeah, he had them both dead to rights there. He could have easily just been like, pop, 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 pop. Why only shoot one to his hand? You already had him. You had him. He was right there.
Nah, man, no. I know what you're talking about.
and let's be honest. At the end of the movie, he had him again, and it was just like, take the shot, guy.
Take the shot, guy. Damn, man. I don't know. I thought it was all worth the suspense.
No, like I said, I get it. Shit needs to happen, but I think there was a couple times where it was just too obvious. Like, oh yeah, shit
I'd rather
needs to
take
keep going.
that. I'd rather take that kind of stuff than what I've said. And John Wick's been a big fault at. It was just no one gets hurt. No one gets hurt until the plot needs you to be hurt.
At least they tell you that bullets bounce off of him and he'll be okay. You're not gonna tell me you're gonna hold on to this beam and get shot in the hand and still be fine.
No, I'd rather take that. I'd rather believe
My hand would have been, and I would have fell completely to my death, bro. I would have completely let go and just fell to my death at that point. And I got this girl holding on to me. Fuck, man, I can't even switch hands. I'm sorry, like I'm switching hands.
Throw her at him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a better working scene in that sense.
And I think it's unrealistic that she wakes up and shoots him and runs out of bullets, and it was like, did not throw the gun at him. I would have thrown the gun at him. Just
he catches it, he's like, perfect. Reloads it. Like,
Dumb's clip. No, he was holding on. There's no way. He had fallen. He was holding on. He was hanging on for dear life. She could have easily threw the gun at his head. If
Chris Hemsworth was able to take a bullet to the hand and be like,
he'll take a gun to the head.
Yeah, he'll be like, God,
that's not true. That's
bitch,
not
you
true.
threw a gun at me.
My weakness. No, that's not true, because the next scene right over, they're fighting on the glass or whatever, and he breaks the glass, falls to like, I don't know, like what is it, 5 feet to the ground or something, and just gets knocked out. And then Tyler could have easily just went like pop 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 pop, and he did not. The dude just was able to, I'm awake again, and just, that was my thing too. There was that. A couple of times.
Oh my goodness!
It just happened. There was a couple of times where it happened. As much as I like these movies and stuff, I have to call out when they just plot driven shit. Like, hey, he can't die yet. We need him for the third act. Tyler looks at him, wanting to pull the trigger, but it's like, I'll see you next time.
You're lucky we got more movie.
Yeah. If this was the third act, oh boy, had you.
Yeah. You're lucky you're not in Jason Statham movie. He would have had you, bro. He would have had you. But yeah, a lot of these scenes were so action packed. It's so hard to like focus on one.
You know what? Julia was telling me that too. She was saying that there was too much. That she felt like there was too much movement and too much action. Did you feel like that was the case?
No.
Like you're just like your eyes were just like in go mode, just couldn't figure it out.
I don't think that's because of too much action. I just think that's because of camera work. I think him trying to do that shaky camera movement, disguise one shots, like it really hurts your eyes to pay attention because you're like, well, fuck.
See, I don't think so. I think when he was the rest of the movie, no, in the one shot scene when everything was happening, I felt like that one was more, I wouldn't say slower, but it was more. You could tell in a way that was more choreographed because they knew that it has to be perfect, so it has to be a one-shot scene. So when he would move the camera down and pick it up, to show you and move it around and stuff like that, it built for more suspense because everything was down to a T. When it came down to the other action scenes where like there was edits and cuts and stuff like that, he was like, well, we can make it a little bit more flashier. So he would do the little like movements and stuff. But he would just add more gun work and more bullets popping when it came down to those scenes. You know what I mean? And the other ones, it was just hand-to-hand combat. When it comes down to the bullets and, like shooting all those people, that's where it gets a little crazy and out of hand. And that's where I feel like that the action gets a little too loaded on. Because not only are you whooping people's asses, you're also popping them, needing to pull out a knife, popping more of them. And it's hard to keep track of where everything goes. Where does his gun go? Where does the knife go?
I don't know. I really feel like it's a technical issue because take for instance that
like
whole scene.
visually, like the way that he's doing the camera work, like what technical issue?
Oh yeah, that's why it would be like camera work, because think about the scene where he's fighting the dad or whatever underneath in those coal tunnels, coal mines, whatever you want to call them. What do you call it? Yeah, there's a whole part where he shoves them to the side. The camera basically pans away from them and then cuts to that, or it doesn't cut. That's a bad word, but it moves toward them to like continue the one shot. I really feel like the shaky camera movement is what throws you off because you're like, holy shit! Like I don't know what to look at because of how shaky the camera is. And then further into that prison scene, just before they light Chris Hemsworth on fire, which is pretty fucking cool. What do you call it? He gets hit with that hammer. He gets hit with the shovel, and then he gets that shaky like movement again.
Oh, where the camera centers him, and he's just like,
yeah, it's
I like that.
It's cool, crazy camera work, and yeah, I can acknowledge like it's pretty fucking cool. But some people that I guess would have a problem with that, it would just be like because it's too much movement If that makes any sense.
I mean, if somebody doesn't
Hypothetically.
like, hypothetically speaking, but are you in the hypothetical
No,
situation?
I like that. But like you brought up Julie.
Oh yeah. Well, she was telling me that, and she was telling, because the whole one shot scene she was fine with. It was when, like I said, when all the bullets came out and stuff like that, and I can agree. I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, I kind of felt. I think the one shot scene was fine. All that was perfect. Like I said, I think it's because they trained it down to a T. They knew what that it was going to be more hand to hand, because they could use bullets, but they're not really gonna. It's gonna be hard to CGI them in a one shot versus an edit scene. So they decided to do more hand to hand, do a few bullets here and there, so they don't be like, well, why isn't he using his gun? Obviously, and then get everything down. And then when it came down to the other, literally like the cut scenes and the edits and all that stuff later on in the movie, when they're fighting, you can see that there's more bullets being thrown. There's more bad guys being thrown at him on top of that, where he needs to throw them here, there, and everywhere, that it's hard to keep up with. And that's where I feel like that whole confusion comes in, because everything else, I that whole movement and what you're talking about, I caught everything in that one shot scene. I love that one shot scene. I could rewatch that shit for days. I hope it's on YouTube. I could probably rewatch it on YouTube, but I could rewatch that shit for days. And then the rest of it, like I said, it's flashy, it's cool, I like it. It's not too distracting for me, because I think I like to like watch those kinds of movies, and I like the realism when, I like the scenes where they I think one scene where it was just too much was when Yaz was in the stairwell and he was fighting all these people, popping them and everything, and then towards the end he does that thing where you were saying, where the camera kind of swoops, and right before it comes back around, next thing you know, they're the big girl and Yaz are shooting each other, and pop 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 pop, and you're trying to see where the bullets are hitting her and hitting him at the same time, and it's too much. That's where I feel like if that's an example of a scene, I think that's where an example of like it just became too much. But it wasn't too much to the point where I disliked it. I thought it was really fucking cool. I'm just hoping in the next, because they didn't have it like that in the first one. He had the fight scenes kind of one shot as well, but he would make sure that they weren't like super crazy one shot scenes to the point where he needed to cut and edit so much. So even the fight scene, I think that one in the first one where he was saving the kid in the first place, and he was in that one room with everybody, like he completely just cleared out that whole room so easily. And even at the end too, when he was fighting David Harbour, that one was kind of like a one shot take too. They had a few cuts and edits, but it wasn't really too crazy. So they had a lot of those scenes. Well, they didn't have a lot in the first one. In this one, obviously you can tell the budget went up
a little bit.
Yeah, they were able to pop each other like fucking crazy.
It went more toward the those action scenes.
Yeah,
versus the actual like explosions, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean that chopper scene still looks funky.
Yeah, the chopper, the cars when he blows them up at the end of the movie, and that airplane when he blows them up. Yeah, that Michael Bay should have been on this movie, but whatever. Sam Hargrave does good work.
If Michael Bay was on this movie,
Sam Hargrave and Michael Bay, bro, would be an explosive combo. That shit would be crazy. Imagine the explosion Michael Bay can do for him, and imagine like Hargrave doing everything else. No diss to Michael Bay.
That's exactly what that sounded like. I was like, how do you not take that as a shot? Remember, you basically said you only hit for kaboom.
If Michael Bay is in there and he writes anything in there, he's gonna write like hot 20-year-old fucking with tits out fixing a car for some reason with a wrench in her hand.
How else do you fix a car?
Banging car with wrench.
You
seen those videos where they where it's like the girls are like, oh, I don't need no man, I can change my oil, and they're putting cooking oil in their car.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh my god, how to fuck up your engine 101. But where are we at now? We talked about character relationships. We talked
world building. Now, let's talk about. Now you're already kind of dipping into it, but let's talk about the cinematography. Let's talk about the camera work. How'd you feel about it?
It was a lot.
We already know what you feel. You said it was dog shit. Okay, you
that?
said that you it was too much.
When did I say that?
I don't know. You said that a second ago.
I said hypothetically.
In my head, you said it that way. John Wick is obviously better. That's how like I felt like
attention to what I'm saying.
Go
but
ahead.
it works a lot better here than in the first one. Obviously, you do see it. They come full force with it in all aspects. I feel so much so that again, I just feel like it hinders everything else, like the explosions and whatever else, because you're just like, damn, that does not look as good as the camera work in the scene earlier, which I mean technical issue but budget issue overall.
No, it can't be a budget issue. It has to be an intentional thing. He intentionally said these explosions will be CGI. Because he could have done real explosions if he wanted to. I think in the first one he did a couple real ones on the bridge scene when he blows up the cars to kind of barricade him in or whatever. Like those explosions, though they look a little weird too. That's where I can say budget was in the way, but he tried to put that money towards the explosion. I think with this one he was just like, well, we don't need to put the money towards that when we could just put it on CGI and they can easily do it. You can tell that that was kind of like a choice that he chose to go down, which like I said, Michael Bay, he would rather see the hand-to-hand and the bullets and the extra camera work for that than actual explosions.
I'd rather see a helicopter just combust.
It's not like the old days where they actually got a helicopter and blew it up.
Yeah,
which sucks.
I wish it was.
That'd be nice.
That would be very nice.
They don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Apparently, it's a safety issue.
Blowing up helicopters.
But yeah, I think a lot of the camera work moves worked really well. Honestly, still a lot better camera work than the first one. I feel no real big complaints about it. Like, I did notice like when he cuts hard, kind of like an MCU movie. But I mean, other than that, it all works.
Yeah, I noticed that a couple times too. I think he blended in the one-shot scene a lot better in this one as well. And like I said, I love all the camera work in that one-shot scene, from him going to the low corners to get the shots to him going all the way to the top. Like I said, there was those weird ones where they took a look behind him and then the camera came full circle and came back to the people again, and yeah, that's probably him hiding it again, but I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun ride to be on, and it's nice when it's nice when it's a challenge that you don't want to take your eyes off the screen at all whatsoever. Like when those one shots happen, I don't want to take my eyes off the screen at all.
You don't want to blink for 20 minutes straight?
No. My eyes were burning yesterday. I was like, my eyes.
Chris Hemsworth.
Sam Hargrave, how'd you do this?
But, that's the weird part, because you really want to find that balance. And not every movie needs, single one shots, whatever. It would be nice if every director could pull off something like that. But, like, compare that scene, I guess, to, like, this is going to be a little unfair, but the MCU, right? That Spider-Man scene where he's fighting Goblin in No Way Home, and like cut after cut after cut, right? Despite, Willem Dafoe doing his own stunts and all that, like, that is just bad camera work. And in this one, I can imagine that scene being a lot better if it had a one shot or, less cuts. This one focuses on those one shot scenes and then cuts when necessary, but you do notice those cuts because they happen every often. Like, that scene, I think it's just after the helicopter shoots into that hotel or whatever. And he tells the family to get down, and he reaches for the grenade launcher or whatever the fuck that was. He grabs it, cut. He aims it, cut. It looks behind him, cut. It shows the helicopter leaving, cut, and then it cuts back to him. All in the span of like a minute.
Trying to remember that. Yeah, I believe it, because there was another scene where he kind of did the same thing too, where when he was it happened in the beginning of the movie too, when he was healing and stuff like that. There was a lot of cuts in there too, and I think towards the end as well.
The montage?
Yeah, the montage, which I understand montages are a bunch of cuts, but I thought that they give you like a good montage. The Creed movies, obviously they let you sit with every single cut for a good chunk so you can feel something was accomplished. And with this one, I mean, you saw Tyler Rake pushing stuff and moving things and picking things up, and it kind of went fast. And like I said, it was cool, but at the same time, I get the edit cut jumps and stuff.
Yeah,
but
necessary evil.
Yeah, I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought there was a decent amount of cuts, but I can see where you're coming from with those jump cuts.
It's all very noticeable things, and that's just me, I guess, nitpicking them, because I prefer scenes to just let you breathe a little bit. Like, you don't have to instantly cut to, like, the next scene or whatever. Or if it's the same scene, you don't have to cut that many times, because where are you going that it needs a cut? No, if you're still following the same guy and leaving an elevator or whatever, you don't have to cut to in front of him or behind him, whatever. It just you can just follow him through, and then cut to him when he opens the next door or something. But like, stop cutting so damn much.
Yeah. I see that. Let's move on to the fight scenes. How did we
Yeah.
feel about the fight scenes with these ones?
Really great, honestly.
Better than the first?
Yes, the first one had good fight scenes, but I feel like I feel like maybe because it was just him, they were really like limiting him, if that makes any sense. In this one, it felt like yeah, okay, he has a team now that could like help lift that weight off his back, and they show them fighting their own battles, not just Tyler. And I really feel like they captured that a lot better in this one than in the first one, because yeah, he needs to breathe or whatever before the action piece. But if you have him versus like him and his team versus like two other people, who's to say the two other people can't fight the team, and while the main character needs to focus on what he's focused on.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really good, because I like seeing him mow down that chopper on the train, and then down below they're fighting.
Even though he stood behind a ladder and the helicopter missed every single bullet.
Well, yeah. Well, we don't talk about that. No,
they should have completely went back and just CGI'd something there, like a wall or something. They just completely left it that way. But I like the fight scenes. Like I said, just with the fight scenes, there was a lot of plot devices that were used in order to, obviously continue. Like I think the helicopter shot first before he started riddling it with a minigun. I was like, you telling me you missed, my boy?
Yeah.
If I was the pilot, I would have been like, did you just miss, my boy? And just gets riddled and dies.
Jump out the plane.
Yeah. Those things were kind of like, I understand that. The whole fight scenes were, they were top notch. They were above what the first one did, and I think it was because of that team effort, because of Nick Khan and Yas Khan. They were cool, like as characters themselves, and knowing that they're able to fight and actually throw down too is a good plus. Because in the first one, like you said, they were just kind of like, he was on the computer all the time doing whatever, trying to set up things. I thought he was just like a booker kind of dude. I didn't even think that he went out there. I thought they were gonna use him as a hostage in this one or whatever. But no, he came out fighting. He had his own little fight scenes here and there too. He did his job. He did his work, and so did she. Even in the you talked about it before, but even in the prison scene, how everybody managed to keep moving was great. I'm pretty sure if you look in the background, you're gonna find a couple goofs, a couple goofers in there. But for the most part, in the forefront, everybody looked like they were doing something, some kind of fight movements, hand-to-hand combats, whatever. And yeah, I every single fight scene, and that could be where that whole it's just too much in the scene happens, because you're trying to focus on this person, that person, this person, and it's just maybe 3 was too many. Maybe we should have just done like 2 people or something, Nick Khan and Tyler Rake. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think everybody did their thing. And as a fight scene in general, my favorite fight scene out of the movie has to be the gym scene in the apartment. That shit was
that was a good one.
The dude getting crushed by a leg press, insane. My boy over here getting thrown into a treadmill, that was crazy. A
real gym rat's worst nightmare.
Yeah,
I really think that whole hotel scene was just really good. I don't know what it was. I'm assuming hotel, apartment, whatever you want to call it, penthouse. It was really good. I think besides the prison one, that's another good one. 'Cause I like when they enter in the rooftop or whatever, and they leave the elevator and the doors open and that grenade blows
Just
up in that
pops.
guy's face.
Yeah,
That shit was so nice.
yeah.
A lot of good scenes in this movie. A lot of good ones like that. I think as much as I like seeing guns go off and whatever, I don't think you can beat a good just hand-to-hand. So seeing Chris Hemsworth on fire, throwing those punches was really cool to me.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, imagine being hit with a fist of fire. That shit would be insane.
You're just like, damn, should I just done my prison time?
You got Captain America in this motherfucker.
Not even Thor himself fucking mowing down everybody, my man. Like, he left no stone unturned. Even the dude that, I don't know who did it, but W for that man who hit him with a rock, bro. Because nobody else was laying a hand on him. So whoever hit him with a rock and was able to get away, he was just like, he just ran away. And homeboy was like all dizzy. And then when he came to, good thing to do with the rock was nowhere near, because he would have gotten his ass beat.
He would have been the first one.
He would have gotten his ass beat. So I don't know who that man was. He was off screen, but W to that man. He almost had him. If he would have just came through to finish the job. I think a few people almost had him if they would have just came through and finished the job. Like the ending too. he took his gun away. Dude, all he had to do was shoot him. He wanted the kid to do it.
Bad guys love to talk, man. That's it.
Yeah, that's their thing.
There's just a lot of like, ha, I got you in this situation. How could you ever escape? He escapes. Damn, no.
You a real bitch for letting your ass get caught like this, bro.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna get shot by a kid. Shoot him, kid. It's like, I'm scared. You're making me look dumb. Shoot him, kid. Come on, shoot him. Why don't you do it? You have a gun. I'm telling you to shoot him.
Exactly. Why don't you just pull the trigger, man?
Yeah, that was crazy. But let's just, since we talked about the fight scenes, let's get rolling to the ending, because I want to talk about a little bit of theories as well.
Yeah.
The ending, we obviously see the bad guy subdued. He's dead. Nick Khan were caught. So was Tyler Rake. They were in jail. They were told not to make a lot of noise. They made a lot of noise. They went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Idris Elba bails them out.
Yes.
And basically is like, if you want to get out of jail, you got to do some jobs for us. Are you down? He's like, I can't do it without my girl. Where's she at? And oh, hey, she's right there.
Yep.
So you down or what? And cuts to black. What do you think that's setting up? Are we gonna see more Idris Elba? Or are we gonna see Idris Elba fight in the next one?
That's my thing, man, because I don't know. I know he was just in that movie called Luther or whatever. I don't know if they're trying to like make that connection with him or not, because I mean he's a fighting badass in that one too.
Luther
Yeah.
on Netflix?
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you'll watch it sometime. But I don't know what connection they're making, because even when I was scrolling through the credits for a cool minute, I was like, they don't credit this man in this movie. Like, they don't give him a name or nothing.
Idris Elba?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Because even he asks him, hey, what's your name? And he's just like, oh, it doesn't matter. My employer does. And it's just like, well, he doesn't have a name.
But so you don't know where it's gonna go then, or do you have an idea? Like,
If we get to see Idris Elba throwing hands, man, that's it. That's the end goal for me. Like, I'd love to see that.
they didn't really leave any clues on where it might go, huh?
No, they were just like, we got more jobs to do, more extractions, 3, 4s, and 5s. I really hope this is one of those franchises where they just continue to push the envelope like they did with John Wick and Mission Impossible at one time. Like, that's my expectations, and hopefully eventually they just get a big enough budget to go all out, because if Netflix knows there's a demand for this, they'll keep moving on with it.
Alcott, that's his name.
In the movie?
Yeah, that's what it says. Alcott, Alcott. That's what he's credited as.
Interesting.
Weird name.
I know, because
And he's all the way at the bottom. So obscure. It's crazy.
They thought we wouldn't notice.
I looked.
But yeah, I don't know where they can take it. I just hope, if there is a third one coming through, that they continue to just push the envelope, I guess.
Yeah, I want to see Idris Elba kick ass. But if he's on that Luther, whatever, it's a movie or a show.
I think it's a movie.
If it's a movie, I'll probably watch that. But I want to see him throw hands, and I'm happy. And I think you're right too, or I'm happy you're right that they didn't basically set him up to die again and try to bring him back for a third movie for no reason. At least they're setting this movie up to get us to that movie.
Yeah.
Idris Elba, I'm hoping he plays a little bit of a bigger role, kind of like what they did with Nick Khan, because she wasn't that big of a role in the first one. She got a bigger role in the second one. Okay, so hopefully by the third one rolls around, Idris Elba will have a little bit of a scene as well.
It's called Luther the Fallen Sun.
Let me see.
Like S-U-N.
It's on Netflix?
Yeah.
Fallen Sun. When it come out this year?
Mm-hmm. Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about his presence. That's the thing. Because they made him so, like, anonymous, where you're just like, okay, that's interesting. But a little too anonymous to you're just like, well, should we really care about him as a character,
Well, I don't think I care about him as a character yet. They didn't even give us a reason to like him. I just think, why was he thrown in there, and why didn't he give us a little bit more to go on for what the third mission's going to be?
Like, clearly, if you're using Idris Elba, you're setting him up, right? Because you could have chosen a lesser actor, somebody, a B-lister. But no, you chose Idris Elba for a reason. He has to have more value, whether it be in the third one or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Unless it was just like I want to do a little cameo with a old friend or something like that. I mean, that happens sometimes too, but it's not, you could be some people and put your wife in every single movie. I don't know.
Jesus. I don't even want to. That's going to derail the whole conversation. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the future, though. Like, hopefully they continue to just keep going with these movies.
So you're good with a franchise like this?
Yeah.
Now, this is where we're going to get into the conversation. John Wick 4, Extraction 2. John Wick's on his 4th. We're getting spin-offs, the Continental and all that now.
I think Continental's out already, no?
Yeah, I can't think of another high-action movie that's came out in recent years besides John Wick 4. Mr. Nobody, but I don't think that one's getting a franchise because...
No, yeah, technically that one doesn't count.
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk hasn't really came out and said that we're getting a Nobody 2, so... Until that movie comes out and it turns into a franchise, I think the only one that has a run for its money right now is John Wick and Extraction. So, do you feel like this series has a potential to be better than John Wick? Obviously, we're 4 movies in. People love those movies a little bit more. I would say they were good up until the 3rd one. And, yeah, at least I think this is a 2 for 2 with Extraction. Kind of like John Wick was 2 for 2.
I think it does have potential. Obviously, there's some aspects of John Wick that I know I don't really vibe with, regardless if it's in universe or him as a person or character. I mean, like, it's really just up to interpretation. But I think action wise, technically wise, and everything, it could pass John Wick. These the Extraction movies.
I think, and I think too, having Chad Stahelski at the helm of John Wick and having Sam Hargrave at the helm of Extraction is an interesting thing too, because Chad Stahelski, he was a stuntman as well, so that's why he's able to do all these fine action scenes and give a decent story. Sam Hargrave, though, I do give him credit as a storyteller. He does get his writing a little bit from Anthony and Joe Russo, where Stahelski, I think he actually gets writer credits for his movies. So people this is going to be a head-to-head thing. Obviously, John Wick has a leg up, but Extraction being on Netflix, they have potential to put out more and even do spin-offs on Netflix and, do all this crazy shit, greenlight this stuff.
Yeah.
That this franchise can actually have some potential. And I think if Chris Hemsworth really wants it to go on, maybe he stops at 3 instead of 4. Hopefully, he can keep going a while and get this franchise to go up there. Imagine a Netflix franchise that outbeats a franchise that's like in the box office. Rebel Moon coming December.
Jeez. I don't know. I'm sure it can have potential. I think the way it's moving now, it totally can, or it can totally crap itself in the 3rd film. Who knows?
I hope not.
But I think every movie has potential to surpass its predecessor, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's very common with fighting movies for the first 2 to be good because, some can say there's enough gas in the tank for at least a second movie, but for a 3rd one, not so much. For a 4th one, not so much. And they rely heavily on fighting movies, as you can, in my opinion, John Wick's an offender of it. They kind of rely heavier on fighting than actual, story and everything like that. And this one, though I think they rely heavily on fighting as well, he intertwines the emotion and the storytelling with the action, that it doesn't feel like an out of place action scene.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, oh, there needs to be action. Boom, let's just have the bad guys show up at this time. That's not the way that he works. He actually weaves the story through and actually makes it make sense, except for those little instances where they should have totally died. But other than that, yeah,
probably. You mentioned movies using spectacle and stuff. What do you think about Mission Impossible?
I think they do the same thing, and Tom Cruise does that as well. But I think he uses the suspense, the realism. I think he puts the tension between the characters that causes the suspense at the end of the movie, where you want somebody to win. Every single movie does that. Whereas, John Wick didn't really do that. They kind of made it was kind of like you killed my dog, I'm going to kill everybody else and just beat up everybody. Mr. Nobody, like I said, that movie is not a franchise, but with that one, they put a lot of tension on Bob Odenkirk's character and his family and all that stuff, to the point where you didn't feel like he was going to make it out alive, and certain other characters that were in that movie too.
Kingsman.
Yeah. Extraction does the same thing. They put some stress on his body, and they make it look real, to the point where you feel like it's he may not make it out. And with Tom Cruise, obviously when you get to like the 7th movie, you're kind of like, well, how can he keep surviving this stuff? How do you add more tension?
Yeah.
So the Mission Impossible movies are obviously in a territory where they're not in the beginning stages. So how do you keep upping that ante is the question. You got to find that sweet spot. Otherwise, you get Fast and the Furious, and you don't believe shit anymore.
Jesus. Leave that franchise alone, man.
Yeah, no. Comparative franchises are cool because you see where they made their misstep and where these people can make a misstep, but if they go down the right path and don't go too crazy, they can still be relevant.
Yeah, and they can hold out much longer.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like, it's crazy how all that works. Because you can map out where Fast and Furious fell.
Exactly. Mission Impossible, I don't think it crapped itself. I just think Tom Cruise being in the headlines, and then on top of that, hearing that, he's trying to strong arm certain things for his movie, it kind of, and then him at the same time coming out saying like, oh, cinema wins. It's kind of like, well, are you doing this because your movie or because cinema? Like
marketing.
If it's cinema, then you shouldn't mind that Oppenheimer has a few IMAX screens than you or whatever. You're on your 7th
But
Mission
all
Impossible.
of them? No,
But you're on your 7th Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
you should understand. So
plan accordingly for part 2.
exactly. So hopefully we get a third part right. You're looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. For sure.
But with that, we're heading towards the end of our episode.
Yes.
If you want to give us your rating for this movie, it better not be crazy because remember, you put this one lower than John Wick 4, and I should fight you for that.
I can't remember what I gave the first one. I probably should have looked that up before, but it's a lot better than that one. It holds up story wise, action wise. I think the few faults we mentioned were them diminishing the baby, seeing his kid basically.
The motivations for the first one.
Basically, in replacement for what they got going on in this one, it does really good action wise, camera wise. The technicality is really great. I can't really blame it for what it is, but again, it is another action flick, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't give it too much praise because it's elevating a genre that we've kind of been around to see. Like we just mentioned, we just went through hella franchises, the Kingsman. John Wick, it's nobody. So it's a franchise on the rise, and while we can want new things or whatever, it's a question of like, I guess, how can they pursue new things?
I think it's a franchise it's a genre that's getting a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
Because we went from having these hand-to-hand combat movies to kind of them getting a little lackluster.
Yeah.
A lot of them were straight to video. I think the last in the mid 2000s, early 2000s or whatever, I think the movie that was dominating was Ip Man, right?
Yeah.
You remember that with Donnie Yen?
Ip Man,
yeah. Everybody loved Ip Man. Ip Man, and they had like 4 movies, but that one was dominating up until the 4th one or I would say the 3rd one. When the 4th one came out, it was kind of like, it was still a good movie. It's just that's when Kingsman started coming out and stuff like that. So we were actually getting that flavor of actual fighting, and they were getting the fight scenes right and the camera work, and then you get shit what James Wan does in like Aquaman, and then what's that one movie where she has double personality or whatever the fuck. What's that movie called again?
Which one?
The James Wan one.
James Wan, double personality.
What's that one called?
I can't remember.
I told you to watch it. You probably didn't watch it.
I can't remember.
Rude. But yeah, so
I give it 8 out of 10. It was really good.
8 out of 10.
Yeah.
It, just the bad stuff was the editing.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Small things like that I feel like can be overlooked despite watching the movie.
Okay. All right. I think you gave John Wick 4 an 8 too. So I think you're giving it like on par. That's what I think.
I can't remember.
Don't quote me. But if you guys want to go check it out, go check it out.
We did a John Wick 4 review.
We did. This one, all the action was there. A little too much action. It kind of felt like when you fill up your soda and then you kind of stop it at a certain point, but it still kind of overflows and you gotta slurp it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I kind of felt. Where Extraction 2 was. Editing wise, I didn't have an issue. That one shot scene still has me in awe to this day. Having watched it again, it's great. Even though they did have obviously plot devices so the movie can keep going forward. I get it. Movies have to do that sometimes. I give it an 8.5. 8.5. I think it was a great, well done movie. The camera work was great. The story was there. I don't like that they took the motivation from the first one, but I guess that's what you get when you pussyfoot whether or not you're gonna make a sequel. Either commit or don't.
Basically.
That's I think that should be the lesson for the first movie. This one, they committed. They knew they wanted to make more. Chris Hemsworth knew that they wanted to make more. So this movie actually gets me hyped to see what's gonna happen. Hopefully, in the next one, we see Nick Khan dealing with the absence of her brother. That would be an interesting arc to take the story in.
That would be crazy.
Tyler Rake, maybe, I don't know, you kind of seen a little bit of rectifying with his ex-wife, so maybe we can get a little bit more of that.
They have another baby.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't think he wants to be a dad just yet. I think that's why, the first one didn't really make it through. But what did he say in this one? She was like, "Why couldn't you be there?" And he was just like, "I was deployed." No, God, your job is more important than your kid.
No, he says he was deployed, and then he goes, "I couldn't fix it," and then we get to that deeper root, trying to make a joke out of his fucking tragedy.
Sorry.
What's wrong with you?
my bad. But either which way, I'm excited to see this movie. Actually made me excited to see what's gonna happen. I am fully invested in this franchise. I think they haven't made me think a different way at all. Kind of picked me up off the John Wick 4 franchise, or the John Wick franchise.
John Wick 4.5.
Yeah. Franchises, but maybe the John Wick franchise, because I know John Wick was giving me my dose of like adrenaline with these movies, but Sam Hargrave showed that he can capture that lightning in a bottle twice, actually improve on the first one, and man, maybe the third one might do the same thing, or like you said, it could totally crap itself.
It could totally tank.
Yeah,
always be prepared for a movie franchise to fail.
Yeah, shit gasses out.
Yeah,
like KSI.
Logan Paul.
Oh, a little.
Anyway,
a little tidbit for y'all.
Anyway, you know where we stand.
But with that, that's gonna end our review. So, Josh, let them know one more time where they can talk to us. Give us a movie to review if they want to support us in a big way. Catch one of our live streams. Let them know.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. We post new episodes or hit us up there for any news or movies you want us to cover. Listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts. At FilmBros Podcast, at Spotify, YouTube Music, things like that. Support us in a big way. Buzzsprout link is in those bios. Subscribers get special perks like shout outs, things meant only for subscribers, so you help us out and we recognize you, and you get a little something that other people don't get. Subscribe to our YouTube at FilmBros Podcast, and then follow our Twitch, so when we're live you can be a part of the conversation at FilmBros Podcast.
Hit the notification bell. Follow, like buttons always are welcome. And with that being said, we'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.